Okay, last growth lecture, and a pretty straightforward one, I think. Endogenous growth. This one could be super tricky, but basically I've decided I'm not going to go through the math. Um, so, what have we got? So remember, Solow and actually the neoclassical growth model in general tells us that the key to the long run, the key to explaining differences between countries in the long run, etc., is productivity and technology. But the neoclassical model can't tell us anything about productivity and technology. Okay, it can only really tell us about capital in relation to productivity. So, to find anything out about productivity itself, we need endogenous growth. We need to look at make productivity change endogenously as a result of decisions made by agents within the model. So how do we do this? Well, if some technology is available to everybody, free to copy, then somebody who invests in that technology to improve it cannot make money from it. Okay, so the investment won't be made. So we need some form of market power in order to motivate research, okay, in general. Of course, some people perform research not expecting any profits, but the vast majority of research performed which leads to economic growth is performed driven by a profit motive. Okay, or I guess there is significant research done in universities as well, but still, yeah, the vast majority, I would say, still is with a profit motive. So we need a model with some market power where a new discovery gives you market power, which allows you to make a profit. The first person to develop such a model was Romer, 1990, Journal Political Economy. And in that model, technologies weren't rivals to each other, they slotted in alongside each other. Okay, so a new technology didn't knock out old technologies, it just added to the spectrum of technologies available, but each technology had a degree of market power because the firms that were using the technologies, they wanted to use them all together. They had a love of variety in their inputs. Okay. Aghion and Howitt followed up with a model of creative destruction in which technologies build, a new technology builds on the previous one and also knocks it out, outcompetes it. Okay, and then a bit later another one comes along and outcompetes, and then another comes and outcompetes, and so on. A model of creative destruction. New vintages replace the old. Okay, and this is a more powerful and realistic model of growth. In the book that I've written that helps you through the course, I take you through a multi-sector model which has some similarities to the Aghion and Howitt approach. And just here in this video, I'm going to just take you through some key intuition. And I'll explain why we don't need to be able to work through this whole model. I'll explain why a bit later in this video. So what's the key intuition? Assume you own a firm with a product YI competing with lots of other firms with different products, selling to competitive final good producers who put all the products together to make a final good Y. The final good producer's production function is CES. So there's someone putting everything together who has a continuum of inputs we've got, remember, an integral, you can think of it as a sum of lots of different inputs, with each input raised to the power eta and then the sum of all these inputs, each raised to the power eta, is then to the power 1 over eta. So this is a CES function, right? And eta here is between 0 and 1, which basically means that these inputs are good but not amazing substitutes. Okay, they're quite substitutable for each other, but not perfectly substitutable. And you are one of these firms. Okay. To make your product, you hire production labor, LYJ, so your firm J, right? On a competitive labor market, so you have to pay the same as everyone else, the wage, which is fixed, you can't affect that, it's competitive labor market. But you can also hire workers to do research. Okay, and you've got a very simple production function. Your output, yj, which you can sell to this guy, is just your productivity times how much labor you hire. But your productivity is a function of how much research labor you hire. So what have we got here? We've got zeta and phi. We've got your productivity, ALJ, is AL, which is some overall productivity in the economy, times 1 minus delta plus something. So if your LAJ is 0, your productivity will be a bit less than AL. Okay. But when you start hiring enough researchers, this will be bigger than delta, and you can start moving ahead, okay, and helping the economy to move ahead in subsequent periods. Remember, people with building. So this AL is going to build up over time thanks to the efforts of all the individual researchers. But in a given period, we can think of it like this. Phi is less than 1, which means if you double your labor research input, you will get less than double the output. And zeta is just a constant. Okay, so for a given total number of workers, LYJ and LAJ, it should be clear that there's going to be some optimal balance between putting them into research and putting them into production. If we put none into research, then we know ALJ will be AL times 1 minus delta, and then we can write YJ is AL 1 minus delta L, where L is the total, or LJ, total research, total labor. But if we start putting a few into here, unless we're at a so-called corner solution, then the boost here will be bigger than the loss here, and for a while production will start to go up. But of course, if we put everyone here and nobody here, there won't be any production, because however good productivity we have, if there's no one working in the production sector, nothing will get produced. Okay. So there's going to be an optimal balance between research workers and production workers to maximize YJ. Okay, and here's a picture of the model. We've got, yeah, let's see, I can use the mouse here, I think. Let's see, we'll see if this comes out or not. I'm not actually sure. But we've got the factories, we've got where the production is going on, we've got the idea factories here. Here is the big Y sector where everything is getting put together to make the final good. And here we can see the labor being split into two parts. Okay, for each individual firm, I think this is the last slide. No, there's two more. Yeah, there's a couple more slides. For each individual firm, there's an optimal balance between production labor and research labor to produce its product as cheaply as possible. Because of the limited labor force, firm size is determined and the wage arises through the competition of workers for firms. Okay, and let's go back. The second paragraph, the more each firm invests in research, the more knowledge is created, which spills over to other firms in future periods through that AL term, the general knowledge. The parameter eta is at a level such that optimizing firms break even when there's a unit mass of firms. That's this, 0 to 1. If eta were lower, firms would have more market power, hence they would make positive profits and more firms would enter, so then there should be more than a unit mass of firms. If eta were higher, the reverse would be true, firms would exit, and in equilibrium the mass of firms will be less than 1. But we choose an eta such that a unit mass of firms is optimal in the long run, or it's a market equilibrium. Okay, and that's kind of an explanation of the model. What does that teach us? It teaches us basically that we can take an exogenous growth model in which workers devote a fixed proportion of their time to research for no obvious reason, and turn it into an endogenous growth model in which research time is the result of competing firms solving optimization problems. And when we start doing policy analysis, we find that in the endogenous growth model, research is undersupplied compared to the social optimum for two reasons. Firstly, researchers can't capture all of the current social benefits because their market power is limited. And secondly, the knowledge created by a given researcher builds the foundation for future researchers who stand on their shoulders. Okay, so for both of these reasons, research should be subsidized. Okay, because otherwise in a free market economy there'll be too little research. Okay, so that is the key conclusion from endogenous growth theory. But how are we going to use endogenous growth theory? We're going to use the endogenous model in later chapters when we wish to analyze how firms choose between investment in different types of technology. How does a firm choose whether to invest in wind power or coal power? Okay, for instance. That is the key use that we're going to put this model to. It's not, so we're not so much interested in the overall rate of technological progress, we're more interested in the direction of technological progress. Okay, and that is that for the topic of economic growth.